Okay, today we're going to go ahead and learn two more rules that will help us with products and quotients. So the product rule for derivatives says if you're multiplying two functions, f of x times g of x, the product rule says you take the derivative of the first times the second plus the derivative of the second function times the first. Okay, so let's take a look at the first problem and apply it. So this is your f of x function, this is your g of x function. So the product rule says we take the derivative of the first function, which is 3 minus 4x, times the second, plus the derivative of the second function, which is just 4, times the first, 3x minus 2x squared. So if I ask you to just take the derivative, you can stop there. If you wanted to simplify, you could multiply everything out, and you can do this on your own and just check back afterwards to see that you get to the same thing. So this would be your final answer if you multiplied everything else. Okay, let's try another one. So in this case, your two functions would be the 3x squared and the sine of x. So product rule says you take the derivative of the first, which in this case would be 6x, times the second, plus the derivative of the second, which is cosine of x, times the first. Make sure you put that times sign in between the cosine and 3x squared, otherwise it looks like it's cosine of x 3x squared, which it's not. Okay, so that's the product rule. Now we also have what's called a quotient rule if you're dividing two functions. So the quotient rule says you take the derivative of the top times the bottom minus the derivative of the bottom times the top all over the denominator squared. Notice if you look at the top, it looks exactly like the product rule, except instead of a plus, it's a minus. So let's try a couple of these problems. So the derivative of the top here would be 3 times the bottom minus the derivative of the bottom is 2 times the top all over denominator squared. Now, when we simplify, we want to try to factor and cancel things out. So you never want to multiply at the bottom. You're going to leave it in factored form like this, but we do need to simplify the top out. So if I multiply at the top, I end up with 6x minus 3, and notice there's another negative 6x here, so really you end up with negative 3 on the top, and this would be your final answer. Try the next one. So the derivative of the top would be 5 times the bottom minus the derivative of the bottom is 2x times the top all over denominator squared. Again, if I want to simplify it, you do want to multiply out the top, but leave the bottom as is. So I have 5x squared plus 5 minus 10x squared plus 4x. And it looks like the only thing I can do is combine those x squared terms. So this is the final answer that I'm looking for.